As a long-term traveler, I am always looking for tools to help me make my travel planning easier and more efficient. Now, sometimes I can find the tools that I need in the form of an app or a website. And sometimes I have to create those tools myself, which means it's probably in the form of a spreadsheet. Now, if you are new to the world of travel spreadsheets, welcome. I'm happy to see you. But if you've been traveling for a while yourself, my guess is you've probably got a couple of these babies tucked away on your own computer, because it's just a really effective method of delivering data in a consistent way that is going to help you make decisions.
God, this whole thing could be a spreadsheet.
David and I have just made a video on repositioning cruises and why we think repositioning cruises can be a really great travel hack for a lot of long-term travelers who are trying to get from one region of the world to another without just taking a long and uncomfortable flight. I will put the link to that video right up here if you haven't seen it yet. I think it's a pretty good one. But in the process of making that video, I realized that all these years when I'm trying to figure out if a cruise is really affordable or not, it's just been me, writing numbers down on the back of a napkin, trying to figure it out. And I realized a spreadsheet could be very useful to help compare that cost of taking the flight with the cost of taking the cruise. Now I've got a process where I can compare my apples to apples and make sure I am looking at that data in a consistent way. If you think this is something that could help you, I will put a link to this spreadsheet in the video in the description below the video here. It's free. It's just a tool that you might be able to use to see how affordable any particular cruise is going to be for you.
And spoiler alert,
it's surprisingly affordable.
So today I'm just going to walk you through the spreadsheet and how it works. We're going to pick a cruise and put in our numbers so that you can see just how helpful this might be for you no matter what your budget is. Okay, so here we are at our spreadsheet. As you can see on the two outer columns that are in brown, those are just instructions, and I'm going to walk you through all of that today. But the first thing we need to do to figure out how affordable is this repositioning cruise going to be for us is to pick our cruise. So I have picked one. This is a repositioning cruise I am very interested in taking myself. This leaves from Lisbon, Portugal, and goes down to Brazil, to Rio de Janeiro. I'll show you, look at these ports. It is a completely ridiculous cruise. It's 18 days. Here we go. So it starts in Lisbon, it goes to Funchal, which is a great island I've been to before. Then it has 3 days in the Canary Islands. It has 2 days, 2 different stops in Cape Verde, which is an African island. I'm out in the middle of the Atlantic. I would love to go there. And then we've got, 4 stops in Brazil, and then finally ending in Rio de Janeiro. For 18 days, you can see the map there. It's just awesome. This is an excellent cruise. So right now, the price of this cruise, as you can see here, is $779 per person. As we talked about in the other video, you have to just be aware this is not the full story right here. This is the starting point. There are lots of other fees and things that we need to figure out so that we can, make our fair comparison. You will notice right down here, it does in very little print say taxes, port charges, and charges. I love how vague that is. So you've got taxes, port charges, and random charges of $254.76. This is going to be per person, which is going to be added on to the price of your cruise. This is an 18-day cruise on the Norwegian Star. We're going to assume that you are traveling with 2 people. I'm also, for most of our examples here, going to take the cheapest choice possible just for those budget travelers to see how that's done. Obviously, you can upgrade at any point along the way, and the spreadsheet's going to work exactly the same. So this is going to be leaving just in a couple of weeks here, a month and a half or so, on Friday, November 24th to December 12th. And here that inside cabin is $779. That's going to be per person. You can see the sea view is sold out, exhausted. I love the way they phrase that. And then you can upgrade for a balcony cabin, a suite, club seat with balcony, and then the suite room is also sold out. If this is the cruise we're going to take, I'm going to come back here and so cruise. I'm just going to say we're on the NCL. That was the Star from Lisbon to Rio. And then our dates, what did I say that was? The November 24th to December 12th. So I'm just going to hit this little drop down and November 24th to December 12th. So this is a great little feature in Google Sheets where once you have a date there, you just double click in that box, it's going to show you a drop down. You can move your months by here and you can just pick your dates. Now the spreadsheet here has already done the math for us, so we know that this is an 18-night cruise. So next year we have how much will you spend not to take this cruise. So in this case, we just want to figure out how much it would cost us to live those 18 days if we didn't take the cruise. If we just wanted to fly, we're already in Lisbon, we need to get to Rio, so we're going to take a flight there and have those 18 days of in a hotel or whatever. We want to add up what the cost of that was going to be, because that's going to be our baseline. So as you can see here, we've got our different categories, and the first thing we want to look up is how much is a flight going to cost from Lisbon to Rio. So there's lots of ways people find their flights. For the purposes of this, we're just going to go to Google Flights here, and I'm going to put in Lisbon, Portugal to Rio. And again, dates and things are going to be different. Change that to one way, depending on how you worked it, but just to make things simple, we're going to do it on the same day. So we're going to go on the 24th, November 24th, done. Search. So you can see our cheapest flight here is going to be $609. Oh wow, this is a miserable flight, 24 hours. We've got a almost 13-hour layover. Let's look at the details here. So you're going to fly to Brazil, and then you've got an overnight layover, and then just another hour flight the next morning to make it to Rio. That is just awful. So I'm going to go ahead and use that price. I'm guessing most people here for not that much more money, we can upgrade, and it cuts that flight in half. So in real world, probably we would look at a different flight than this, but for those budget travelers, we're going to pick the cheapest option. So we're going to say this is $609 if we just wanted to fly there. So here at that $609 times 2, that's going to be $1,218. And that's what we're going to spend on that flight to get there. So you can see this is going to start doing the math for us to show this is how much total we're spending, what that price per day is. Now, price per day is something not everybody pays attention to. That's how I kind of do my budget, is I want to know how much I'm spending every day on average for those living expenses. So that's what that is going to be for. And you can see down here at the bottom, these columns have turned up orange. At the end, when we're done and we've put in all of our numbers, an orange number means that the price of taking the cruise is cheaper than the price of just flying there on your own. There might be some situations where that actually happens, but just know if you see that orange, that's why it's just programmed to show up in orange if it's less expensive than not taking the cruise. Okay, so then we're going to come up here and we need to fill in how much are you going to spend on 18 days of a hotel. So generally for us, our basic budget is $50 a day. I'm guessing most of you probably do a lot more than that, which is fine. You can put in your own numbers here, but I'm just going to use mine. So usually we're trying to spend about $25 or less on our accommodations every night. So for 18 days, that's going to be $450. For food, I'm going to put in $20 a day for food. You're going to put in whatever works for you. I'm going to put in $360. And then entertainment, this is going to be whatever you're going to do. I'm going to go low just so we're doing low numbers in all of these. But I'll put in $90 there. So this would max out our personal budget of $50 a day plus the cost of that flight. Now here you've got a category for other expenses, and this can be anything you think you're going to spend not taking the cruise that you would want to put in there. One thing I have considered putting in there at times is, I know when we were in Barcelona, the hotel we were staying at was close enough to the port that we just walked there when we were ready to get on our cruise ship. And if we had wanted to go to the airport, we would have had to take a taxi, which probably would have been, 75 euros or something. And so you could put in things like that or other additional expenses that you might have to take. You could put that in there. So this is showing us with those numbers that the cost of not taking the cruise, just flying there and living our life, $2,118, which is about $117 a day. Okay, so now what we want to do is compare that number with the price of what it's going to take the cruise and how much that's going to cost for us. If you think the spreadsheet might be helpful, take a second right now and hit that subscribe button. We do have some other spreadsheets we're going to be sharing in the future, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out. So let's go back to our cruise here. So again, we've got our different options for the purposes of this. I'm going to click on the inside fare. So now when we are looking here, you can see, I'm talking about this in the video, but the cruise ship wants to upgrade you wherever they can. So even here, we've got some options, although this is an interesting option here. So we've got a family interior cabin, which is, geez, almost double per person. We've got our regular inside cabin at $779, and here they're actually offering us a sail away fare. So sail away fare means that you don't pick your cabin. You pick the class of your cabin, and then they put you wherever anybody else didn't already pick. Now, for a normal cruise, I might be a little bit wary of picking this. You know, if it's going to be a full cruise, you don't necessarily want to end up in a really undesirable location or something. My experience, and this is just my experience, that anything can happen, but in my experience, the repositioning cruises rarely sell out. We've been on some that are at like 50% capacity, or even if they're at 80 or 90% capacity, there's generally extra rooms. And so we have taken the sail away fare on some of our cruises and still had a terrific room. But it just depends. Now, the other thing you want to think about with this sail away fare is you can see up here they're offering free at sea offers. Now, this is specific to Norwegian, but every cruise line kind of has their own way of doing this. These offers can sometimes offer a lot of value. So you can see where you can get free open bar. Now, open bar, the price for that is $109 per person per day. You can't buy it just one of you in the cabin. Both of you have to buy it. You can't just say, oh, I want to have unlimited drinks on, 5 days of the 18. No, you have to buy it for every single day. So it can get really expensive. I mean, this is an 18-day cruise, so that's like $2,000 or something. Just doing the math on the top of my head. It's expensive. So getting that for free can be a really great value. Although there's a hitch to that we're going to talk about in a second. Same here, you can get some free specialty restaurants. This is dependent on the class of cabin that you buy and how many days the cruise is. So in this case, this cruise is 18 days long, so I think we're probably going to get 2 free meals. So that would be 1 meal for 2 people twice, that you can go to 2 different specialty restaurants and check them out. So that might be a good deal you want to pick. You can get some free excursions, and what that means, usually you get like $50 off whatever the excursion costs. I've never used that because the ship excursions are just so expensive. I've never gone with them anyway. And then you get some free Wi-Fi. And so if you're a person who wants to get the Wi-Fi, it's not super reliable on ships when you're out at sea. But if you just want to send some texts or some emails, it's free. So hey, why not take it? Now, whatever these offers are, like I said, they go up with the higher class of cabin you buy. And if you get a sail away inside stateroom, you don't get any of those. So it just depends. You're going to save $100 by getting that sail away. But if you value any of these at more than $200, it might be worth it for you to upgrade. So just to show you what that's going to look like, let's click on this $779 one. I'm going to hit select, and it's going to show us our prices. So here we're going to see our prices. Here's our free at sea. And you've got the option to take the open bar and or the specialty restaurants. And the reason they give you this as an option is because they're not totally free. They are giving you the cost of the package for free, but you are still required to pay tips of what you would be tipping those, bartenders and waiters. So it's 20% off the full price. So if you come over here, you can see, look at that. Our cruise was $779 per person, and now it's ballooned up to $2,900, and here's why. So we've got our subtotal, which is the 15. We've got our taxes, port costs, and expenses. They word it a little differently here, but that's $509. Then you've got tips at open bar, $784. Because it's an 18-day cruise, that gets really expensive. So here's where you're going to have to do your own math for yourself and decide, over 18 days, am I really going to spend $784 worth of alcohol? If you are going to spend exactly that or less, I do not recommend getting the open bar because that's just not going to be worth it for you. For us, it's never worth it. We've never purchased this pack. You know, for shorter cruises, that number will be lower. Or if you're someone who likes to drink a lot, then that might be worth it for you. You just have to decide. And then the tips in the specialty restaurants is another $40. You're getting your 2 meals and the tips on that is $20 per meal. So that's another $40. If you decide you don't want to take that open bar, we can just come over here, deselect that. That price drops off. It's still adding it in up here. I probably have to refresh the page for that to come down, but you can see that it's come away over here. In this case though, I just wanted to show you what that looks like. I'm going to take us back. And for this example, we're going to go with the sail away. So we're going to select here. So you can see over here, we don't get any of those free at sea offers, but now our price is down to $1,868. So that is $1,358 for the cruise. And then again, that same $509 for the taxes and port fees. Okay, so I am just going to copy and paste that number. We're going to go back to our spreadsheet and I'm going to put it in right here. So that is the price of our cruise. Now here I've got the prices of the taxes and port fees, but you can say I leave blank if already included. I just copied it all there, but you could do them separately if you wanted to pay attention that way. Okay, so tips. You have to pay tips on any cruise. It depends on the cruise line. It's going to be somewhere between $14 and $20 a day. It can be more than that if you're in any of the Haven or the fancy suites. But in this case, for Norwegian, it is $20 a day per person. So tips for us is going to be $720 for both of us. And then we've got our different categories. So specialty dining. If you wanted to do some specialty dining, you could add that in here. If you wanted to buy some alcohol, whether you wanted to get a package or you just were going to give yourself a budget for this, I'm going to buy 10 drinks over the course of the cruise and at $10 each. You can put your budget here. We'll just put in, I think most people are going to want to have at least a couple of drinks. Now there are ways to get free drinks on cruises. I won't go into that here, but just know there's receptions and things you can go to so you can get alcohol. I really like going to that. They do tastings and flights. The margarita tasting on Norwegian, super, super fun. We're keeping this number low. Many of you might want to do more than that, and that's totally fine. But again, for this example, we're just going low. If you wanted to buy any Wi-Fi, if you wanted to pay for any excursions, additional flights. So this I put here because let's say, you're not starting your cruise in Lisbon, maybe, or the cruise starts in Lisbon, but maybe you are, in Porto or you're in Barcelona or you're somewhere else and you have to fly somewhere, to get to the start or at the end of your cruise. Maybe you're not trying to go to Rio, you're trying to go to Buenos Aires. So that's what this category is for. If you did have to do anything else to make up for a change in itinerary, you could put that in here. And then other expenses. So again, this is a catch-all. If you're someone who likes to shop on the cruises, you want to go to the spa, you want to do some shopping, you're going to go to the casino, or any other expenses that came up. Now, for this example, we're just going to leave it here because I'm just showing you how the spreadsheet works. So here you can see that the total cost of the cruise then is going to be $2,688 for a price per day of $149. And down here, okay, so this is where the fun part is. You can read the instructions here. Like I said, if this was orange, that would mean it was, cheaper to take the cruise. And so if this is ever orange, 100% you're probably going to want to book that cruise because that's going to be a no-brainer. But because it's in blue, we know that the cruise costs more than just flying there. But in this case, in this cheap scenario, the cost of taking the cruise is only $570 more than not taking the cruise. So that's a difference of $31, almost $32 per day. And this is where you just have to decide what your threshold is. Is that cruise worth $32 a day for you? Getting to go to the Canary Islands, getting to go to Cape Verde, getting to go to a bunch of different stops in Brazil, plus just the luxury of being on a cruise. You don't have to worry about jet lag because you're going to experience those time changes very gradually. It's going to be a lot more comfortable than taking that 24-hour flight. That's something up here with that 24-hour flight. You might want to get a hotel, which would, add to the cost up in here. You just have to decide, is this price worth This is all that you're paying extra over the price of that cruise. Is that worth it for you? And if it is, then you book the cruise. And if it's not, then that's not a good option for you. And you're going to either book that flight or look for something else. So I find this is a way just to take a lot of data and information and you just boil it down to this cell right here, where you can decide what is affordable for you and what is worth it for you. So I hope you found that helpful. I think this is a great spreadsheet. I can't wait to start using this myself. We don't have a cruise on our immediate horizon. We're heading to Europe, but we're gonna stay over there for a while, and flying over there, we're not going at the right time of year. The ships are moving the opposite direction as us in November. However, in the future, I think this is gonna be a really helpful thing for me. If you think it's gonna be for you, like I said, I will put the link to it. It's free down in the description below. You can get your own copy and use it as you wish. If you found this video helpful, we hope we'll see you around here again. We release a new video every Sunday. We will see you next week.
Today